Hey everyone, I'm here for kind of part two of my wrap up for this month. I did a mid-month wrap up because I was reading a lot this month, which is good because I also bought a lot. So if you want to check out like the previous, I think it was 4 or 5 books that I read at the beginning of this month, you can scroll back to like 4 or 3 videos ago, around there. I'll see if I can leave a link in the description. But this is the second half of my September reading that I did. So the first book that I got to this month was Landline by Rainbow Rowell, and I know that I am super late at hopping on this bandwagon. It's one of the last Rainbow Rowell books that I have yet to read. I've read her young adult books and love them to pieces, and I'm kind of in the middle. I'm in my mid-20s, so I'm kind of in between the teen books and the adult books, so I can relate to both of them, which I think is kind of ideal. But this is definitely more on the adult side. It's about a family where the husband and wife are kind of in a rough patch in their marriage. They're kind of struggling through the holidays and work and like making time for each other. And they get split up for the holidays, and the wife pretty much goes back to her childhood home and finds this phone that she can call her husband when he was in his young 20s, when they very first started dating. So she could actually talk to, like, the beginning of their dating husband, which kind of rekindles their love. It's an adorable, very relatable story, as all of Rainbow Rowell books are. I gave this 4 stars. It was adorable. I loved it. The next book I got to, I already talked a lot about in my book haul, but that book is You by Carolyn Kepnes. This book is so dang disturbing / good. This book is pretty much about a guy who is the epitome of the really, really creepy stalker guy who pretty much picks a woman, decides that that is the love of his life, and will do anything to get to her, including like stealing her things, watching her in her apartment, following her, reading all of her emails, being super creepy, basically. So it's very dark, obviously, but it is also told in second person. So he is talking directly to you, like you are the woman that he is following. So that kind of absorbs you right into the story and gives you that uncomfortable vibe. But of course, it's also told from his perspective. So all of his actions, he kind of rationalizes them because he doesn't see anything wrong with what he's doing. He thinks that he's being romantic by learning all these things about her and doing anything for her. So, needless to say, this book was very messed up, and I flew through it. It was really good. I gave it 4 stars just because I don't know if I would recommend it to everybody based on the content, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, the next book that I read, it was a long time coming, and that book is Rumble by Ellen Hopkins. This is one of, I think, the only Ellen Hopkins books that I haven't read at this point, and I think it's safe to say that I've kind of grown out of my obsession with her. She used to be like my favorite author when I was a teenager, just because her books were so controversial and they never really end on a happy note. They're extremely blunt and realistic, which I really liked because there weren't any books at that time out there like that. But I also feel like she's done all of the very controversial topics like drug abuse, sex abuse, religion, war. She's kind of touched on everything that's extremely taboo. So I think that's kind of why I only gave this 3 stars. This book is about a boy who, his little brother committed suicide. I don't really know how to really give that much of the story, other than it's kind of a coming of age, him and his girlfriend going through like high school, and him embracing how people view religion and view homosexuality. I just think she tried to touch on too much in this book, because she also brings up the war, she brings up PTSD, religion, neglect of parents, homosexuality, suicide. I feel like there was just too much to make this believable as like everything that could happen to one kid. I don't know, that was just my thoughts. So I gave this 3 stars. I still really enjoyed it. It's still like all of her other books where it's written in verse, so you can fly through it regardless of the size. I still love her books. I will still probably read all of them. I think I'm just kind of out of the obsession, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this one. The next book I got to is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and for those of you who don't know, she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, which I read pretty much just to see what the hype was about, and it's one of the few, like, national bestsellers that I actually really enjoyed. I didn't really expect to like it as much as I did. And I've started reading a lot by her. I read The Signature of All Things this summer, and I wanted to pick this up just because it's kind of a quick book. It's not that long. It's actually, I guess it's classified as a self-help book. It's Creative Living Beyond Fear. That sounds very, I don't know, self-helpy. It was just kind of a really cute, enjoyable read as far as, like, not letting anything hold you back from being creative. If you want to create something, she pretty much lists all the reasons that you could be afraid of doing it or fail at doing it, and she pretty much says, do it anyway. Inspiration will hit you, and let it happen. And it's just, she shares a lot of stories through her life, and she's obviously a huge author at this point, so she has a lot of stories that are very relatable, and it was just very inspiring and makes you want to do something or make something. It was pretty inspiring. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I liked it. It was enjoyable. I recommend it, and it's pretty. And the final book that I got to this month is People of the Book by Geraldine Brooks. I have mixed feelings about this. It's a very, very interesting concept. This book is about pretty much a young woman who is a manuscript and, like, historical book conservationist, and she gets called to this assignment to pretty much restore and investigate this Haggadah, which is a religious text in the Jewish culture. And she's pretty much trying to trace the history of it because it's a very rare and special version. And as she's finding clues, literally in the book, it switches back to a story of somebody who possessed the book at some point in time, and it tells their story and how whatever that clue was that she found got there. And then it goes back to her, and then it goes back to another story, and each one of those stories in between goes further back in time, so you kind of see the entire lifespan of the book. I love that concept. I think that is such an interesting concept. I just kind of wish that there had been more to it. I feel like she tried to do too much in too, like, short of a book. It would have been very cool if you actually saw more of, like, the Jewish cultural suffering that led to the point that it was at, the book was at, I guess. It just kind of told of the people and what was going on in their lives. I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings about this. I really like the premise of it, but I feel like it just didn't quite get executed the way I wanted it to. I gave it 3 stars for that reason. I still really enjoyed it. I still learned a lot. It was very culturally immersive. If you're interested in that, you learn a lot about religion, you learn a lot about different cultures because it traveled all over the world. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this one. And that is all that I got to this month. I think that's a grand total of like 9 or 10 books. So, I mean, that's, I don't know how to justify this. That's still way less than the amount of books that I bought, which does not balance out. But it was still a pretty good amount, and I'm still in the middle of reading a bunch of books, so that makes me feel like this much better. So yep, that's gonna be it for me. What did you guys get to this month? Hopefully you guys read something interesting, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!